Greetings, friends. This is Father Tim. Having just completed Job, there is a new spot to fill, and it has been filled. We begin our exploration of the Song of Songs, as we also continue on in Amos and in Luke. Song of Songs. We're going to do an introduction to it today at this hour. We're not going to start reading. We're just going to go through it. Overview of it. Song of Songs. You may recognize that more by the name of Song of Solomon, referring to the same thing. We'll touch on that a little bit. So, friends, please do take a moment to post a greeting, share a comment, let us know that you're here with us, and thank you for being with us. And I encourage you to hit the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel if you've not done so yet, and feel free to share this and any content on this channel in any way that you think would be beneficial. Okay. So, Song of Songs, Song of Solomon. We will be reading once we start reading, not at this hour, from these reading windows. Jewish Bible, left hand, Christian Bible, right hand, Complete Jewish Bible, New Revised Standard Version, Updated Edition. And right here, you can see there is some discrepancy right away. The Complete Jewish Bible refers to this as the Song of Solomon. The NRSV Updated Edition refers to this as the Song of Songs. Now, I don't know if this is always uniformly Song of Solomon in Jewish tradition, but I kind of have my doubts that it is. I'm not sure though, but I do have a spot to check on that. I can tell you across Christian tradition, various translations use Song of Solomon, some use Song of Songs as the NRSV Updated Edition does. Let's see here. And here, in this text, which also claims to be the complete Jewish Bible, but presented with Hebrew, Shir Hashirim is the name in Hebrew, which is translated here as Song of Songs. And if you think about that, Shir, Hashirim, that kind of makes logical sense. Solomon in Hebrew is Shlomo. That's absent Interesting. So, why would that be absent? Well, there is a speculation that someone else, not Solomon, wrote this. Someone anonymous, someone writing in Solomon's name, using Solomon's reputation, Solomon's authority to validate. In our day and generation, oh, that's plagiarism. That's wrong. It's unethical. It's illegal. But long ago, that was seen as a sign of respect to write in someone else's name because you were giving credit to them without taking credit for yourself. It sounds odd to our ears these days, I know. Well, rather than talk long about who, I think the more interesting thing is to talk about, so what's in this book? It's a short book. It's 8 chapters. It rarely shows up in the lectionary. And about the only time you will hear this is at a wedding. Because this book is wisdom literature that celebrates the sexual union between a man and a woman as a joyful part of marital life in God's good creation. And that makes us blush. Oh, there are moments in this book that really can make us blush. I remember years ago hearing the story of a woman who told me this story, who told me and some others this story, how she, a clergy person, did a personalized birthday gift, birthday card, I think it was some kind of card for her husband, also a clergy person. And she inserted into it certain words from this book. I forget which now. But she did not include the citation so that it was not blatantly obvious that these were biblical verses. And without that, it was quite racy. Even with that, it can be quite racy. There's something beautiful about that. Sexual relations, marital relations, as a joyful gift of God for us in creation that God declares good. And thus, these relations too, God declares good. As Christians, we like to try to make this something you don't talk about, something you don't speak of in relationship to faith, something that's not for polite company. And this book presses back on that again and again and again. There are some interesting things that happen. Like if you look here in this paragraph, some suggest this poem about love and sexual intimacy should only be read symbolically as an allegory of the love relationship between either God and Israel or Christ and the church. Oh, please. What is that? An attempt to try to keep this outside of the faith or to dehumanize it so that we're not talking about us and our spouse. Others take it at face value, seeing it as depicting love in all its spontaneity, beauty, power, and exclusiveness, and experienced in its moments of separation and intimacy, anguish and ecstasy, tension and contempt. I think that's beautiful. It's highly sensuous and suggestive imagery drawn from nature applauds sexuality as a normal part of married life to be experienced as God intends it in his good creation. Yes, yes, absolutely. So, when was this written? Here you see, we don't know. I've got a few sites up, a few resources. It'll be interesting to see how this compares. Possibly during the 10th century, possibly by King Solomon, but unknown. How does that line up over here? Yeah, 970 to 950 BCE. And this resource definitely attributes it to Solomon. And this resource, uh, yeah, the book contains words and poetry that complement the Bible's teaching about love and sexual sin. Oh, we've got to get that in there, don't we? Can't just leave it at love and sex is something beautiful to get the sin in there too. Solomon's writings serve as a reminder that romantic passion can be a great gift, and many sections can be used in its interpretation of Christ's love for his church. Yeah, okay, sure. And lastly, then we've got the big picture that we'll be coming back to again and again, um, which doesn't say anything about the timeline here. The Song of Songs, which is of Solomon. Maybe, maybe not. His name does begin the book. And yes, it's interesting to note Man's voice, woman's voice. Um, this comes through more in Hebrew, in the Jewish Bible, the complete Jewish Bible. This looks more like a play, doesn't it? If you've ever seen a manuscript of a play, see what I mean? He, she, chorus. Yeah. It is an active conversation, a dialogue, seemingly with observers. By the way, one thing that this points out here, Song of Songs is something that I think we should legitimately take as something beautiful about sexual relations. Sexuality is part of God's good creation, but let's not take this and go, "Oh, this is marriage as we understand it." There are too many folks in our own day and generation that like to talk about a biblical worldview of marriage. Well, which one? Some of them will say, from the very beginning, the biblical worldview of marriage is one man and one woman. Really? Try again. Solomon, who is attributed here in some role, maybe he's the male voice, maybe not. Maybe he is the narrator of this, maybe not. Maybe it's just in his name by someone else. Solomon had one wife? No. Solomon had over 700 wives. Actually, First Kings chapter 11, I believe, says 700 wives and 300 concubines, I think. You know what? It's easy to look up. And why not? Open my Bible app. First Kings chapter 11. Yeah. Verse 3. Among his wives were 700 princes and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. You see, if you also look at verses 1 and 2, Solomon loved many foreign women, including from the nations which the Lord had said to the Israelites, "You shall not enter into marriage with them, neither shall they with you, for they will surely incline your heart to follow their gods." And Solomon fell for it. Maybe not so much of the great king as we sometimes describe him to be. Just saying. All right, I don't want to get stuck on that. Interesting thing to point out, though, here. So let's roll through this. We get an introduction. There is this first theme that is woven. You like that vine like? Intense desires, seeking and finding. And that is the theme that comes up after the introduction. And then theme two, the joy of physical attraction. Hebrew metaphors are not primarily visual. Oh, yeah. In other words, don't be too literal because there will be things. Your eyes are like doves, your hair like a flock of goats, your teeth like lambs, your neck is a tower, your lips drip honey. Makes for an interesting face, doesn't it? Oh, yes. Hebrew metaphors are not primarily visual. What is love poetry doing in the Bible? Three main interpretations: Jewish tradition, an allegory of Israel and God; Christian tradition, an allegory of the church and Christ. And there's something to be said also just for a collection of ancient poetry that reflects on the divine gift of love. I really like that. I like that in part because, well, frankly, there are things that would have been considered norms culturally from the time of the scriptures that we don't take as norms. The man and the woman in this dialogue, it's not exactly it's not exactly equal. The man gets what the man wants, basically. And the woman is along for the ride, basically. It's not quite what we think of or desire, our own day and generation. And there are some elements of it. Yeah, yeah. There are some elements of this that will just make us blush. It's wisdom poetry. Let's leave it at that. It's, ooh, hello. What'd I do? It's wisdom poetry. It's beautiful. Sometimes it's a little cringy. Sometimes it makes us blush a little bit. And so we come up with ways to try to explain it away. But in the midst of it all, how about we just remember this too is a part of creation, and this too is gift of God, and all of God's gifts and all of God's creation in the end are what? Good, because God has declared it to be good. Morning prayer in the next few moments. in the next life.